Hi everyone, I'm Nandana Jisham and today I will be presenting on the topic procurement and strategic sourcing. So let's begin by defining what is procurement. Procurement is the process or act of sourcing or obtaining service or goods for a business. And every procurement transaction fundamentally involves two parties, the buyer and the seller. The buyer who is acquiring the goods or services and the seller who is providing them. Moving on to the types of procurement, there are mainly three types of procurement: direct procurement, indirect procurement, and service procurement. The direct procurement involves purchasing goods or services that are essential to the creation of a company's end product. For example, raw materials, machinery, and items for resale. The next is indirect procurement. This covers the purchase of items needed to run the business but which do not become part of the final product. For example, utilities, facility management, and travel. And the last one is a service procurement. This is obtaining necessary services such as professional services or software subscriptions. And next is the procurement's golden triangle. This involves this image showing the growth, business, margin, innovation, procurement, and sustainability, suppliers, cost optimization, collaboration, and customer centric procurement. And this visual represents the procurement's golden triangle and it illustrates the core focus areas and the relationships in modern procurement. And this triangle links three key external elements such as the growth, margin, and the sustainability. The focus of the procurement involves cost optimization, collaboration, and innovation, and all evolving around a central point of customer centric procurement. Next is the strategic procurement process. The strategic procurement process involves first step is the need analysis. This is defining what the company needs, and the next step is the spend analysis. It mainly involves understanding where the money is currently being spent. And the next step is the supply market analysis. And this involves researching potential suppliers and market conditions. And the next is the procurement strategy creation. This involves developing a plan to acquire the goods or services. And the next step is the supplier selection. This involves choosing the best fit partner. And the last step is the negotiation, which involves finalizing the terms of the contract. And the next slide is the goals of strategic procurement. This involves choosing suppliers that best match the company's business goals and procuring higher quality goods, building robust relationship with suppliers, and collaborating with suppliers. It is mainly about choosing suppliers that are best matched for the company's business goals and aims at procuring higher quality goods. The key goal is building robust relationship with suppliers and actively collaborating with them. And finally, it seeks to reduce the suppliers base to focus on key relationships and leverage economies of scale. And for an example, if a company needs an ongoing service like an email security solution, the procurement process ensures that the company selects the supplier that best meets all of the business requirements at a reasonable price. So, this structured approach is vital because it enables the business to avoid wasting time, money, and valuable resources by dealing with an inadequate supplier. So, let's see what is sourcing. Sourcing is the process of selecting right supplier to provide the goods and services people need to run their business. And the process of sourcing products or services is the first step in the supply chain, and it's about finding balance between the quality of the products and raw materials needed and affordability. So, and the sourcing involves specifically, it involves finding quality sources of goods and services, negotiating contracts and establishing payment terms, conducting market research, testing for quality, considering outsourcing of certain goods, and finally establishing clear standards. So, moving on to the strategic sourcing process, the first step is profiling. It basically defines the needs and scope. And the next step is a supply market analysis. It mainly involves researching the market as we discussed earlier. And the next is the develop strategy. It involves creating the sourcing plan. The next step is select sourcing process. This is basically deciding on the method, that is, for example, bidding, direct negotiations, and whatever. Next step is the negotiating and select suppliers. This is the execution phase of supplier selection. And the last step is the integration. It basically integrating the new suppliers into the company systems. And moving on to the goals of strategic planning. The goals of strategic sourcing are primarily focused on optimization and leverage. The first one is to improve the price performance ratio, and the next is to identify possibilities for continuous improvement and to promote the best sourcing strategy throughout the company and to leverage the company's total expenditure for better pricing and terms. And the last is to review and optimize supplier relationships across the entire organization. So let's see what a case study based on this. Unilever manages an incredibly complex global chain with thousands of suppliers to stay competitive, and they use strategic sourcing to focus on cost reduction, risk mitigation, supplier collaboration, and sustainability. And they were facing several challenges. So let's see what they were. First one is the rising raw material cost and volatile markets, supply disruptions from geopolitical and climate risk, and lack of visibility into tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers, and inefficient processes and sold data. High sustainability and ethical sourcing expectations, and these were the Unilever's strategic sourcing approach. First one is the supplier segmentation and consolidation. They categorize suppliers by critically and risk and reduce their supplier base by 20% to consolidate spending with strategic partners, creating long-term partnership. And next is the digital procurement tools. They implemented tools like SAP, Ariba, and AI-based analytics to get real-time visibility into supplier capabilities and risk exposure. And the next strategy is that risk-based sourcing. They developed a risk management framework that factored in geopolitical risk and ESG performance and mapped supply networks to mitigate tier 2 by 3 supply risk. And next is the sustainable sourcing. Through the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, they focused on sourcing 100% of agricultural raw materials sustainably and reducing emissions across the supply chain. And the next is the integrated supply and demand planning. They used a global planning hub and advanced softwares like Kinesics, Rapid Response to align supply with market demands, improving responsiveness. And as I conclude, a well developed strategic procurement process directly translates into improved business performance by way of focusing on bottom line savings in the long term. Strategic procurement is all but necessarily for organizations which intend to remain competitive in the business climate for years to come. So, a well developed strategic procurement process is critical as it directly translates into improved business performance by focusing on bottom line savings over the long term. For any organization that intends to remain competitive in the business climate for years to come, strategic procurement is a necessity. So, the strategic sourcing ensures companies aligns their component sourcing with their business goals and which both increases efficiency and minimizes risk within the supply chain. So, thank you for your time. Have a nice day.